Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about what's your why. This is a subject I'm very passionate about with my own team, with myself, with my family. And I feel like it's really, really important to get it out there for anyone that's watching this. What is your why? It's a question that gets asked a lot. And I feel like there's a very strategic answer you can have. Not many people work it out. So it's easy to say my why is my kids, my wife, my husband. My why is to make £1 million, £2 million. Those are all reasons I thought my why was, not my husband, but my wife. But actually, when you break it down, there's stages to why, okay? So if you've been out in Dubai 3 months, 4 months, you're in shared accommodation, you're renting a very basic rental car, you're living, especially in the industry we're in, you're living on a timeline where that money is chipping away. Your why is to pay your rent. You are in survival mode. The first stage is survival mode. Survival, okay? Survival mode is getting up to pay the rent. Survival mode is getting up to pay the food, right? There is no £1 million, there is no kids, there is no wife, there is nothing else other than the important parts to get you by. That is your why, that's what gets you out of bed, okay? When you understand that, you can actually factor that in and start to write out what I'm doing. How are we gonna do this? When you start to bring in money, when you start to become more successful, your stage changes. So there's 4 stages, okay? So the first stage is survival. The second stage is status. Status is a stage we enter when we start to build success and we start to acquire materialistic things, okay? Our attitude can change. It happened to me, okay? I remember starting to generate a little bit of money, and then went out and bought a car, went out and bought a watch, started to go to nicer restaurants, started to live a nicer life. Status is a position you get into for other people. You're buying these things for others, to then say, he or she has this, has that, has this, has that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to understand that, okay? What that means is your why is no longer to pay the rent, because you can pay the rent for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. It's now to acquire these things. The third stage of what your why is, of understanding what your why is freedom. Freedom for me is the most dangerous stage. Freedom is free falling. Freedom is someone that becomes successful quite quickly. You go through the survival, you go through the status, you acquire everything you've ever wanted, and you get into a position where you've got your mortgage payments, you've got your rent payments, you've got the car of your dreams, you've got your watches, you've got your houses, you've got your holidays. You don't really need to do a huge amount, and you're at a point where you're that good. You don't need to do a lot. What happens is complacency steps in. People actually go from freedom, believe it or not, back to survival very quickly, because you can actually turn 180 and think, oh my God, I need to get back on track, okay? And what happens is it builds this up and down effect. What we need to do is pass through freedom. We need to set standards, we need to set goals. So in order to get through freedom, we need to put processes in place, okay? By putting processes in place, when the standards drop, because you don't need to necessarily get up at that time, because you don't need to, standard takes over, that process takes over, okay? It's all great, well and good, having goals, having these things set in place, but we need that frame built that when you drop, you only ever drop to this standard, okay? Lastly is purpose. Purpose, I think, is the most important one. When you've gone through survival, when you've gone through status, when you get through freedom, you've built that structure. You've got your processes, you've got your routine, your habits all put in place. You know you're winning. The next thing is purpose. What is my purpose? I feel like this is where family come into play. This is where teams come into play. This is where businesses come into play. It's no longer necessarily about money. It's about providing value back. It's about providing that purpose back to a business, to a industry, to a family, whatever it is, whether it be time, whether it be becoming number one, breaking records, setting records. That is the purpose. And I think it's so important to understand these 4 stages when you're going through them. You can actually align your goals and you can build the foundation along with that. When you're in survival mode is, I need to make, in our industry, X amount of calls a day. I need to see X amount of people a week. I need to be in the office from this time and I will not leave until this time. even when I don't want to. That is what I do, okay? The goal is to achieve this, probably financially. All these things, we'll do that. The minute I start to do that, and it will work, the minute I step into the next stage. The next stage, I reevaluate my foundation, I increase that, and I start to acquire things. The next stage is freedom. I have to have my foundation bulletproof. So when I'm in that freedom mode, I don't just drop off. I can take time out, I can enjoy myself, but then I can find my purpose. Think about this and understand what stage you're in. Be really honest with yourself. It's really important because there's nothing wrong with being any of the stages, but understanding where you're at and then understanding how you're going to get to the next stage is the only way to move forward. I believe you don't do anything in life consistently with luck. I don't believe in it. I believe that everything is put in a strategy. Everything. If you want to lose weight, you have to work out how much you have to eat, how much you have to train in order to get to this size, up or down. If you want to make money in our industry, this is what you have to do. There is a structure to it, okay? And understanding where you are in your life. If you're in survival mode and you're running around trying to close a 50 million dirham house, it's very, very, very difficult. It's very difficult to match those up. Chances are, if you're in survival mode, you're in the early stages of your career and you're in the rental department or lettings department, and then you have your next stage. So let's try and link up where you're at the moment to what your goals are, what your aspirations are. The other thing I find really, really key to note down, I sit one-to-ones on a quarterly basis with every single person in my team. Some of the goals that are being set aren't in line with where these people are. Some the goals are lower than where they're at, and some of them vice versa. They're at different stages and they're I'm gonna buy a Ferrari. Okay, but you're driving around in a Picanto at the moment. You will buy a Ferrari one day, I have no doubt. But let's put the stages in place and let's put the time frame in place in order to get there. Otherwise, you're going to get to Q3, Q4, and you're not going to have your Ferrari. You're going to get upset. It will deflate you, and it has a reverse impact. So what is your why goes hand in hand with building your habits, building your frame, and putting your goals together as well. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest. If you're in survival, you're in survival. You don't have to tell anyone that, but you know in your heart of hearts if you can't afford your dinner or not. If you're in status mode, then you can actually look back and say, well, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being in status mode, but you go through it. But understanding that and saying, okay, how do I get to freedom? Okay, status is acquiring liabilities most of the time. Most of the time. Freedom should really acquire assets, so then you're becoming free. Okay, so it's a different mindset, it's a different plan, it's a different strategy. Again, it's not necessarily always that way, but most of the time that is how it will work. So understanding where you're at will then help you get to the next stage. You have to understand what stage you're at. We're stepping into money management a little bit here, but you have to understand what stage you're at in order to get to the next stage. And I think you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to be very honest as to where you're at to get to the next stage. You have to realign. What we do is very, very, very heavily target driven. There's a lot of pressure to deliver on your targets, okay? And the top 5% deliver on targets week in, week out. The way you do that is being straight with yourself, understanding, okay, this is where I'm at. Realistically, this is what my target is. I'm not saying break your dreams. I'm not saying don't put the Ferrari as your background. Don't put the whatever it is that you want as the background. I'm not saying that because I had that. I had all those dreams, but I didn't come in here in year one with a dream. I had a dream of driving whatever car I wanted, but I didn't achieve it in year one, and I knew I wouldn't get there because I had to break even. I had to keep my head above water in order to do what I needed to do, build the time, go through the different stages to get to where I wanted to be. So now, anyone watching this who's fairly new to the industry, who's in that survival mode or stepping into status, you know what you're doing. You know what to look out for. Let's be honest, and then say, okay, fine. So now, if I can pay my rent for a year, if I have some money in the bank, okay, and I'm about to acquire something nice, which tends to be the Dubai way, I'm entering that status mode. That's fine. But I now need to realign my goals to say, okay, what is now? If I want to buy a Range Rover, that is a realistic goal. If I want to buy whatever, that's a realistic goal. Okay, once we've gone through that, what is the next goal? I found that when I first came here, I didn't understand this. I didn't know this. No one told me this. So my goals were astronomical. I'll reveal them. They weren't actually astronomical. They were really bad. Goals here. I've got them kept them. 2018, I think. Let me see. 2019 personal goals. Right. Okay, 2019. This was set 8th of January 2019. I'll read them out to you. Move out to our own apartment, February 2019. So that was 1 month. Get a car, February 2019. Buy a wedding ring with a budget next to it, June 2019. Save 5,000 dirhams per month as of March. 45k in the bank by December. Join a golf club and play at least twice a week, February 2019. 2019 commercial goals. Average income of 30,000 dirhams per month. I was actually starting to run a team then, so I was broken while I was running a team. I was very new. Build a team of 4 investment consultants. Achieve 20 million target with email. So, to be honest with you, my goals were very, very low at the time. Sorry, looking back, they were low, but at the time they were high for me. That's what I wanted to achieve. And they're easy things to write down, but if you write down and structure it correctly, you'll write down what really should have been the apartment. To move out of the apartment was number 1 on the list. Okay, I was living with 4 or 5 different people, so that was my number 1 goal. Then how am I going to get that? Then put a time frame in place. So not just, okay, June 2019, I'm going to live in this tower, this villa community, whatever it is, in this time frame. This is the type I want. This is the furniture I'm going to have. This is how much I need to have. This is what I need to break down. This is what I need to make per month in order for me to do that. That is structuring your why, because I need to get out of where I am to get to where the next stage is. So what I would say for anyone there, it's lovely to have these goals. I would say set quarterly goals, but the most important thing, I think, is working out where you are and then what's next. The main points of today's video: understanding the 4 different types of why and processes you're going to go through, working out where you are as an individual, how you're going to get to the next stage, how you're going to get through the status that you're at the moment, and being really, really honest with yourself and straight with yourself to know where you're at and set your goal, align your goals with where you're at the moment.